Growing up, I had dreams and aspirations, but always felt like the kid that didn't fit in. For the most part, I wasn't a bad kid, but when I made the transition into adulthood, I turned to the streets for guidance. This led to getting locked up in juvenile hall, doing time in CYA, and eventually a 120-month sentence in federal prison. I had a lot of time to think and reflect during my federal sentence, so I share with you what I learned, hoping I can positively influence someone else's life with Prison Talk.
Getting down with a fresh out prison talk. Trump recently commuted Larry Hoover's federal sentence, and the difference between a commute and a pardon. So a commutation is a form of clemency that reduces punishment for a crime. It usually takes the form of a reduced prison term, but can also reduce court-ordered fines. A commuted sentence replaces the original court-ordered sentence. So it's not necessarily a pardon, but it reduces your sentence, and it's an executive power. So pardons forgive the defendant for the crime, while the commutation only reduces the sentence. Prisons must accept pardons, but some states allow commuted sentences without the prisoner's consent. Unlike pardons, commutations don't restore the civil rights lost with their criminal convictions. Prisoners usually earn commutation through good behavior, while pardons can be issued for a wide variety of reasons, which may be purely political. So that's in a nutshell the difference between a commutation and a pardon. Larry Hoover was a leader of the Gangster Disciples, and in the 1990s was given 6 life sentences on conspiracy, extortion, drug, and other criminal charges. In addition to his federal sentence, Hoover was given 200 years in the state of Illinois for murder and some other charges. And so now that his federal sentence has been commuted, it's up to the state, and the state can basically let him out since he's done so much time, or they can come pick him up. But as of right now, I don't know the status of that. But yeah, Larry Hoover, he's been down for quite a while. He's 74 years old right now, and he started the Gangster Disciples back in the 70s. In 73, he was convicted for ordering execution of a rival drug dealer. Authorities alleged that he continued to lead the gang from prison. In the 1990s, he formed a political organization and claimed he had transformed the Gangster Disciples into a community service organization called Growth and Development. However, he was found guilty of a long list of federal crimes in 1997. In recent years, he has advocated for criminal justice reform, including the First Step Act, which Trump signed into law in 2018. Among other things, the law allows for reduced sentences for inmates who participate in programs aimed at reducing offending. Hoover has continued to publicly disavow gang life. Quote, I am no longer no longer a member, leader, or even an elder statesman of the Gangster Disciples, Hoover wrote in a letter to court in 2022. I want nothing to do with it now and forever. So Larry Hoover has disavowed his gang ties. He's taken on a whole nother direction with trying to revitalize the community and the young people. Authorities are still trying to say he was running a gang from prison. I mean, this guy, he was in one of the most locked down prisons you could be in, and he's been there for a long time. And there's been a lot of other people over the years who have been forgiven for their crimes, who have been commuted or pardoned. And Larry Hoover, from what I understand, is one of the last people charged in his case that's still locked up. Now, I don't know all the details of it. You guys can comment in there and correct me if I'm wrong. But if there's anybody else who was on his case who is still locked up, or is he the last person still locked up on his case? I know he's been in prison and hasn't been able to, touch really touch his family, be with his family for years. Because in the feds, it's a lot different than the state. No conjugal visits. There's very minimal physical interaction. Maybe when you first get there, and then when you leave. Um, I think where he was at, I don't even know if they have physical contact visits, but he has received a full and complete commutation for his federal drug convictions. The governor of Illinois must follow suit, said attorneys Joshua Dublin and Justin Moore. Um, yeah, so this is big, man. Um, Larry Hoover has probably been one of the most influential black men in, I would say, the street culture, conscious culture, gang culture in the last, man, you know 3 or 4 decades. I mean, I'm from California, and I've heard about him, and he's known across the country. And people who have been in the system or just been in any type of street life, or even heard you know hip hop music, have heard the name Larry Hoover. And hopefully this man gets a chance to not have to deal with the state, and just can walk on out of there and be with his people, and live out his days and enjoy life. A lot of people think this is a joke as far as this gang life and um, the prison genre, and the way they promote it now. Back in the day, it wasn't really uh, welcome to be a drug addict and be in a clique or a hood or whatever. I mean, if you smoke back then, if you smoke crack, if you were somebody who was just drugged out, I mean, you were not you were not really respected at a high level on the streets, because your ability to compromise people because of your drug addiction um, was dangerous. And so, when somebody got strung out on drugs, or they were just smoking crack or doing something, like you weren't really considered in a position of power. But and it wasn't like people didn't. It was like, if you didn't do drugs, you were considered stronger. You were considered able to um, better deal with situations. I don't recall anybody that I really looked up to being um, really hooked on drugs like that. I mean, a lot of guys drank. I mean, me personally, I never got into the drug scene. I seen what it did to family members. I looked down upon it, even though I was involved in the drug trade in a really small level. But speaking from experience, man, I felt like, man, I don't want nothing to do with it. And yeah, man, it's changed a lot. So the structure from back then, from what I understand, was you couldn't really be on drugs. You had to have a certain type of discipline, similar to like the military. The discipline. You don't want a guy who's protecting the country hooked on pills or getting high all the time, and he's handling weapons of destruction. So yeah, it's just changed a lot. And the culture today, I don't know what Larry Hoover's impact would be on the youth as far as him advocating certain things, because I know a lot of these youngsters today, when I talk to them, they look at me crazy. They're like, "Oh, old man, OG, you don't know," and their mind is gone. It's different when you can touch a mind that's that's has a certain level of clarity as far as consciousness, but drugs cloud that consciousness, and it just makes a difference when you're trying to reach people. That's why a lot of guys, after they get in jail for a while, they change, because see, they detox, they got off that shit, if they get off of it in prison. But a lot of guys go to prison, and there's even more drugs. So at the end of the day, um I hope Mr. Hoover, Larry Hoover, can get out and be with his people, man, and just kind of live out his days in peace, and and find a place of happiness for him and his family. Jail is no joke. Prison ain't no joke. They got places that are literally living in, like, you're in hell, And to survive that and to come out with your mind and not go crazy is, man, it's you guys just don't understand how strong-willed you have to be to not lose your sanity in these places, man, where, limited human contact, limited human interaction, and you're basically dehumanized to the highest level. And Larry, the place that they had Mr. Hoover at, Larry Hoover, a lot of you guys, you would lose your mind. You don't even know the level of sanity up in there and what people are going through, because a lot of the stuff is not reported. And he was considered a threat. He had a powerful voice, and with the gang ties and stuff, man, they were like, man, we got to shut this guy down. And they stacked the charges on him. I don't know the particulars of his case, but a lot of times, people like that, they get you on, phone calls, wiretaps. They say conspiracies. They just say stuff, and I mean, when people are saying stuff about you, it's just their word against, your word. So just a word to the wise, you guys out there, living a life. Um, got to make some conscious decisions, and you don't want to put yourself in a position where you got to, climb out that hole, because I mean, it took this man a lot of years to show that he's a changed person for them to finally give him an opportunity at freedom, a commutation. So Big Herc 916, Prison Talk, leave a comment, share the channel. Let me know what your thoughts are on this, your thoughts on the whole gang culture, how it's affected the black communities and its impact on America. And what do you think about this commutation?